The turning point. One rainy evening, as Aarav huddled beneath a broken cart, a figure approached. An old man, dressed in simple robes, with eyes that sparkled with wisdom, looked at him with curiosity rather than pity. "Why do you sit here and suffer when life is so full of possibilities?" the old man asked, his voice gentle but firm. Aarav frowned. "Do you see my life? Do you see my suffering? Don't tell me life is full of possibilities." The old man smiled. "I see your suffering because you see it. Change your mind, and you change what you see." Aarav laughed bitterly. "Change my mind? That's easy for you to say. You don't know my life." "Perhaps," said the man, "but I know something you've forgotten. You are not your circumstances. Your mind is the gatekeeper to your life. Change the way you think, and you can change everything." Something about the old man's calm certainty unsettled Aarav. That night he could not sleep. The words echoed in his mind, nagging, challenging him. Change your mind, change your life. The beggar's life. In the bustling streets of Mumbai, amidst honking cars and hurried footsteps, sat Aarav. His clothes were tattered, his hair unkempt, and his eyes weary with the weight of countless days filled with hunger and rejection. Each morning he awoke on the cold pavement, the stone floor pressing uncomfortably against his back, wishing life had been kinder. Aarav had been a beggar for as long as he could remember, or at least that's what he believed. Every day he muttered complaints under his breath. "Why me? Why is life so cruel?" He watched rich men pass by, their faces buried in their phones, never noticing him. He was invisible, forgotten, and he thought it was all the world's fault. Yet something inside him, though buried under despair, still whispered, "There must be more to life than this." Learning a new perspective. The next morning, Aarav woke up on the same cold street, his body aching from the night. But something inside him was different. The words of the old man, "Change your mind and you change your life," lingered in his thoughts. For the first time, he wondered, what if he's right? What if my suffering is more in my mind than in reality? Aarav spotted the old man sitting quietly by a small tea stall. "You came back," the old man said, as if expecting him. I don't know," Aarav replied, hesitant. Maybe I want to try, but I don't know how." The old man smiled. Change does not happen all at once. It starts small. Start by noticing one good thing today, no matter how tiny. Aarav scoffed. "Good thing? Look at me. I have nothing." "Look closer," the man said. "See the sky, the rain, the flower growing through the crack? Life gives even in small ways. Notice them." Aarav looked up. Rain dripped from the roofs, and a small bird perched on a puddle, splashing around. He couldn't help but smile. Tiny, fleeting, but real. The old man then gave him a task. "Tomorrow, instead of asking for money, offer help to someone. Notice how it makes you feel." The next day, hesitant but curious, Aarav helped an elderly woman carry her basket of vegetables across the street. She smiled and thanked him warmly. For the first time in years, Aarav felt something new. Pride and connection. Over the following weeks, Aarav practiced this every day. He noticed the gratitude in people's eyes, the small kindnesses he received in return, and slowly a subtle shift began inside him. His mind, once clouded with resentment, now began to see opportunities, not obstacles. One evening, as he sat by the street under the fading sun, the old man approached again. "Do you see, Aarav? Life hasn't changed. You have, and that's all that matters." Aarav nodded, realizing something powerful. His thoughts shape his reality. Experiencing change. Weeks turned into months. Aarav's life began to change, not magically, but steadily. By applying the lessons he had learned, he found small jobs, washing dishes in a local cafe, helping a carpenter, delivering groceries. Each task, no matter how humble, became an opportunity to grow, learn, and prove something to himself. He was capable. People noticed his new demeanor. Once ignored and invisible, Aarav now carried himself with quiet confidence. Shopkeepers greeted him with respect, neighbors asked for his help. Even the children of the streets began to see him as a role model. One day, while carrying supplies for a local shopkeeper, Aarav stumbled upon a young boy trying to sell flowers. The boy's mother had fallen ill, and he was desperate. Aarav remembered the old man's words about helping others. He gave the boy his hard-earned savings, showing kindness without expecting anything in return. That act of generosity sparked something miraculous. The shopkeeper, impressed by Aarav's character, offered him a permanent job at the store. Aarav's income grew, his confidence soared, and he even started saving small amounts. But the greatest change wasn't in his wallet, it was in his mind. Aarav realized that life's circumstances could remain harsh, unpredictable, and challenging, yet his mindset determined whether he would remain a victim or rise above adversity. The old man visited again and asked, "Do you feel the difference?" Aarav smiled, his eyes shining. "Yes. It's not just life that has changed, it's me. I see hope where there was despair. I see possibilities where I once saw nothing. I feel alive." The old man nodded. And this is just the beginning. When you change yourself, you can inspire others to change too. From that day, Aarav no longer saw himself as a beggar. He was a man of purpose, slowly but surely transforming his life through action, gratitude, and mindset. Transformation. Aarav's life had changed in ways he had never imagined. What began as small shifts, helping others, noticing the good, learning new skills, had snowballed into a life of opportunity, purpose, and fulfillment. The shopkeeper who had first hired him became more than an employer. He became a mentor. He taught Aarav about running a business, managing finances, and treating customers with respect. Aarav absorbed every lesson eagerly, realizing that knowledge was just as valuable as hard work. With time, Aarav saved enough money to start his own small business, a tiny tea stall in the very street where he had once begged. But this stall was different. It was not just about selling tea, it was about serving the community, offering a place where people could feel warmth, kindness, and respect. People who had once ignored him now stopped to chat, laugh, and share their stories. Aarav became known not just as a business owner, but as a man of integrity, positivity, and inspiration. Yet the real transformation was not in his surroundings, nor in his income, it was within. Aarav had learned the most powerful lesson of all. Life doesn't give you circumstances to make you unhappy, it gives you opportunities to grow if your mind is open. Aarav often reflected on his old life, the nights on the cold pavement, the hunger, the hopelessness, and he realized that those days had been necessary. They had forged resilience, empathy, and wisdom inside him. They had prepared him for the life he now lived, a life filled with purpose and meaning. Giving back. But Aarav did not stop at personal success. He remembered the countless people he had seen suffering, begging, and lost in despair, the people who were where he had once been. He remembered the old man's words, "When you change yourself, you can inspire others to change too." Aarav began using his resources to help others. He offered employment to young men and women from the streets, teaching them skills, building confidence, and guiding them toward independence. He created a small shelter where children and adults could learn, eat, and regain hope. He visited the beggars on the streets, not to pity them, but to show them possibilities. "Your mind is the first door," he would say. "Open it, and life will follow." Aarav's story spread through the city. Newspapers featured him as the man who turned a life of despair into a story of hope. His tea stall became a hub for inspiration, where people came not just for tea, but for wisdom, guidance, and courage. One evening, as Aarav watched the sunset, he felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. He had changed his life, yes, but more importantly, he had become a beacon for others. His journey proved one undeniable truth. When you change your mindset, life will change. The circumstances may not be perfect, but your mind will find a way to thrive. Aarav smiled, thinking of the old man who had first spoken those words to him. He knew that the real transformation was never about wealth, fame, or comfort. It was about the power of thought, action, and purpose. And so, the beggar who had once believed he had nothing became a man who had everything. Not just success, but meaning, impact, and a life lived with heart. The streets where he had once suffered now carried echoes of his footsteps, not as a man defeated, but as a man who had risen, inspired, and given back.